Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bunch of Nuts Podcast. This is Dan here, at Cass. A happy, well, maybe not happy because it's also somber, but happy Memorial Day weekend to everyone who celebrates. I think we have a special show this one.
Yeah.
We're paying tribute to the first ever national championship team, and we got our natty hats on. 1942 Ohio State Buckeyes. It's like a memorial episode, I guess, for them,
Yeah.
um, in remembrance of them. Cass, it's a little historic episode we have planned. Cass, I know you want to kind of just get into it. What we got on the 1942 team? Let's tell the people about them.
Well, let's see real quick. This team had a future Hall of Heisman Trophy winner in Les Horvath,
Yes.
who was the third string running back in this. But Paul Brown was the head coach. Overwhelming offense. And you got to think, too, back in 1942, when you averaged 33.7 points per game, piling in 281 yards per rushing and 5.2 yards per carry. For for Coach Paul Brown, only allowed 114 points that season. Only loss was the Wisconsin. In a 10-game season, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Um, 33 points per game, almost at 34. In Paul Brown Stadium, that's where he really got started before he became the legend in the NFL, coached the Cleveland Browns, and invented the Cincinnati Bengals.
I
So
mean, this team was awesome. Like you said, it was Paul Brown coaching it his second season. I love Les Horvath was like it was like having Curtis Samuel on the Natty team because it was like he was like the Curtis Samuel. It feels like he had 5 touchdowns, a receiving touchdown. He was kind of like like you said, the third string back. Their fullback dude was an absolute monster. His name was Gene Fekete. I can't even pronounce it. Cass, can you pronounce this?
Gene Fekete, something like
Fekete.
that.
Gene Fekete.
Fekete, yeah.
Yeah. He was an American football fullback and linebacker, born from Sugar Creek, Ohio.
That's
His
Amish country, so he's tough as nails.
Well, and his parents were Hungarian immigrants who settled in Findlay in the early 1900s. He was recruited by Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, and he obviously chose the in-state school, Ohio State dude. And let me tell you, this dude was a monster
I
for
mean, look at this. Their first game, they opened up the season against Fort Knox. Fetke and Dick Palmer. You're about to get ran over by a guy in 1942 by the name of Dick Palmer. They both scored 2 touchdowns each. They rolled 440 yards rushing to service the to negative 14 yards rushing by Fort Knox. That's the equivalent. I mean, I know Michigan fans, if you're listening, like, oh, Fort Knox, blah, 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 blah.
Didn't
Like,
Ohio State this year have a team having the negative rushing yards?
there for most of the game. Yeah, I forget who it was though.
I'm trying
It was
to
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan, yeah. I think they finished with negative rushing yards, I want to say, because
I will look that up if you want
I
to
think they
continue.
did, dude. I think they did because of sack yardage too. So,
This is before the forward pass.
that is true. But yeah, that is so impressive, dude. The one thing that made me laugh about this season, because like the old football seasons prior to World War II, the old football seasons were so hilarious. Like you said, they played Fort Knox. Ohio State, they had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 home games out of hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 home games out of their 10. They had 2 true away games. Um, and one game that technically it wasn't a home game was the Illinois game, and that was in Cleveland. So this team absolutely had a perfect like schedule because they had all the home
Well,
games.
yeah, Western Michigan had 20 finished with 28 yards rushing in the game,
Yeah.
but for 3.5 quarters they were at negative yards rushing.
Wow.
That has to be a record though. We need something to really look at deep in the archives. Is negative 14 yards the record for the least amount of yards allowed rushing? And
Pretty
this is
forward
true
pass.
rushing yards. This is pre-forward pass.
Yeah, no, it's speaking of the forward pass cast. the stats here from I mean, there was forward pass in this game. I want to make clear, like the forward pass existed, but like it just wasn't utilized. Their quarterback Paul Saringhouse, he was their starter. He had the most like attempts. He had 41 attempts on the season, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, 517 yards. He averaged yards per game 51.7, but his rating was 164.2. So and a 48 percent completion percentage. So the guy wasn't terrible by
So
by that year's standards.
so looking at the standings in the Western Conference, not the Big Ten, if Wisconsin, I'm going to look that they only
They
allowed
tied Notre
6
Dame.
points a game.
They
They
tied
tied Notre Dame.
and they
If they
lost to
didn't tie
Iowa.
Notre Dame, they probably would. Wisconsin probably wins the national championship.
Wisconsin finished third in this year, and what I think saved Ohio State honestly too was we lost to Wisconsin. Actually, that was the one loss, but we lost on the road. So the committee is like, "Oh, it's a road loss, not as bad." So like it still existed back then.
Yeah, but they tied, and they only had 8 wins. So Ohio State wins the Western Conference,
Yes.
um, which is the Big Ten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Michigan State was not yet in there. Michigan State was actually independent because I was looking at it. I was like, "Where is Michigan State?" But yeah,
Yeah,
but
19.
it is quite interesting.
And I gotta say, pretty solid year from the Western Conference in 1942. Ohio State obviously finishes one, wins the Natty. Wisconsin, they finished third. Michigan finished ninth in the AP poll. Minnesota, 19th. But we also had Iowa. They were ranked at one point 12th. Indiana made it to 18th at one point, and Illinois made it to all the way to a high of five,
Yeah.
which you gotta question, did Ohio State like ruin Illinois' season? Because at the time they were number 13 overall. Ohio State smacked them in Cleveland 44-20. So that I mean that was a big game for them.
Well, they also rolled over USC, Purdue, Northwestern before they lost to Wisconsin. They beat the Pittsburgh Panthers after losing to Wisconsin 59-19.
Yeah. And I gotta
Um,
say, real quick, it did feel like when you look at the way the season played out too, when you look at like how Ohio State moved up and down the AP poll back then, the Illinois game was like the I would say it was like the 2014, like it was the 2014 Wisconsin Big Ten championship game, because them putting up 44 points back then was like crazy against like a team like that, like a number 13 team, and they put 44 points, and they went from all the way from number 10 in the AP poll to looks like next week they were number one.
yeah.
They
So if
moved
you
that
look
quick.
at it here, Ohio State won the tiebreaker because Michigan beat Notre Dame, who Notre Dame tied Wisconsin. Ohio State went on to play for the national championship. They had to beat the Iowa Seahawks,
Pre-flight.
the Iowa Seahawks, to 41-12 to win the national, and then they were later clinched the national champions,
Well,
the Iowa Seahawks.
and what's funny is this team, the Iowa Seahawks, this was actually their first season ever. Um, literally that was their first season ever. 19,
Seahawks.
they only played for 2 more years, 1943, 1944. Honestly, though, pretty successful during that time frame for a team that only played 3 years. They were 26-5 with an 839 win percentage. Dude, they were not bad at all. I gotta say. Um, but yeah, it's funny because the Natty was also played at home November 28th. The Michigan game was the 21st. And then it's funny because the Michigan game wasn't the last home game. A lot of similarities,
It was
honestly.
the third Saturday in November, though.
A lot of similarities to this team, to the team this year, honestly, with the negative rushing yards. They had the Michigan game wasn't their last home game. They had another, like a playoff game at home, technically, because this was in Columbus. Kind of a lot of similarities.
Yeah. So George Lynn and Gene Fekete, um, less so they ran like a wishbone offense.
Yeah, of
Les
course.
Horvath, Gene Fekete, Dick Palmer, and George Flynn. George Flynn was the team captain and quarterback. and Fekete had 910 yards rushing. The it, oh, and then those were some of your star players. So you're talking about the wishbone offense, 1942, for Ohio State football. Some of the star players on Ohio State football. I thought Paul Warfield was on this, but I was definitely wrong.
I mean, I like to talk about like a really important player. It was our tackle, Charles Csuri. There's a Csuri. I think it's Surrey. Hope I pronounce. And he went by Chuck. So Chuck Surrey. He was the tackle. Um, he was in 1942. He was a first team All American, and then he was a second team All Big Ten guy, and just a pillar at tackle. He attended Ohio State on a football scholarship, and he was selected in the 1944 draft um, by the Chicago Cardinals cast. He declined it to go serve in World War II. And just because it's Memorial Day, he served in the Army. So our All American tackle, who won a natty, served in the Army from 1943 to 1946, won a Bronze Star for heroism at the Battle of the Bulge. So thank you for your service. And then he went on to live a long life. He died age 99 in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. But just one of the pillars of this team.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually send you the team photo so we can put it on our Twitter account um, for this weekend. Yeah, it's really cool. The 1942 national championship. There was a player from Lancaster High School. I'm trying to look that up as we speak, which is cool because that's where I'm from. I'm from Lancaster, Ohio. Um, and he played offensive line. So, but yeah, I think doing something like this, 1942, first national championship during World War II. So you're talking a team that won the national championship during World War II. And then you had your star player, All American offensive lineman, just go serve in the Army after winning a natty. That's just awesome.
Hmm. Another man another important player on that team who joined the Army, Lynn Houston, the guard. Um, he actually went on to play it for the Browns for a while, from 1946 1953. He won an NFL championship with the Browns. He was on the national championship team. He was also a first team All American, first team All Big Ten, and a second team All Big Ten the year before. He joined the Army actually right after 1943, but he stayed at Ohio State, but was not allowed he was not allowed by the Army to play on the football team. So I mean, he just joined the Army, and then that kind of ended his Ohio State career. But then he went on to go play in the NFL.
So there was only three draft picks from that football team. Later on, Les Horvath was drafted by the Cleveland Rams in round 6, pick 45. Bill Vickroy, a center, was drafted by the Cleveland Rams as well in round 12. And in round 13, Don McCafferty, selected by the New York Giants in round 13 and pick number 116.
So my question is, okay, if this Ohio State team wins the national championship, they're so dominant. Where are all these other teams picking guys from? Like, how are these guys? How are they only having guys going like the 10th and 12th round when they're the national champions? And like, it's not like, there's NFL factories back in the day. Not everyone's like producing like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jackson Smith and G, but like, where are these guys picking players? They're just drafting guys off the street. Like, why are these guys 12th, 10th, 11th round picks? That don't make any sense.
Well, you got to think too. There's probably like 8 teams back in the day,
Mm.
and the Cleveland Rams weren't part of the. I don't even. They weren't even called the Browns yet, because Paul Brown wasn't the head coach yet.
Yeah, no, if there's 18, yeah, that makes sense then. Okay, 8 teams back in the day. Then you're like, these are like second, third round picks, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still working on trying to find that guy's name that's from Lancaster, Ohio. That it is something special because I'm from Lancaster, knowing that there was a national champion from Lancaster. Because there's Bobby Carpenter and Rex Kern that won national championships. Jimmy Cordell played in a national championship in 2006. Um, Kyle Trout won a national championship in 2014. Luke Roberts played on a 2012 undefeated team. And yeah. Oh, Joe Del Filipino. I think this is where I got confused. He was a halfback in 1972, and I believe, no, we didn't win a national championship that year. Oh, because he didn't play. This guy didn't play for Lancaster High School. He's just from Lancaster. Okay.
Oh, that would explain it. Just looking at this the Michigan game, it was 21-7, and Michigan only scored one touchdown. And I'll give you the guy who scored the touchdown if you're curious. It was Bob Weiss in the third quarter. It was Ohio State dominated this.
You also know who else played on this team, and we
Who?
haven't even mentioned his name. Bill Willis.
Oh, that's right.
How did we miss that?
It's tough, man. Well, the problem is it's so tough to pull data on this because they don't like record the sacks and tackles really back in the day. It's only like offensive stuff. So it's you gotta really dig into the archives.
Really, I found this one website. It's pretty cool. Um, so 1942 national championship team. What a time! What a time!
It is. I did not. We have a moment here, Cass. I do want to touch on. I mean, that's all we got for the 1942 team. Thank you, gentlemen, for the first ever Natty in Ohio State history. I do want to talk about. Well, we got some time. Ohio State today in the transfer portal. They got a new quarterback. I don't think it's gonna, make much of a difference, but I liked it. His name's Eli Brickhandler. He played at North Carolina A&T, Houston, the Houston Christian Huskies, and a little football in Hungary, which some people call, I'm not even kidding, the Ohio of Europe. I've seen that comparison. I'm dead serious, dude. He's not going to beat. I don't think he's going to beat out Lincoln and Julian and
He
probably
might beat out Mason Maggs.
maybe. It depends how much he grasps the playbook, but he is. I will say he's quick. This guy is quick. He is. He can definitely break a long run.
He's going to be Arch Manning
And
on the scout team.
honestly, that is the perfect comp, dude.
He's going to be Arch Manning in the.
They even got a kid from Houston. They got a kid like a Texas kid.
Yeah, formerly Houston Christian University, formerly known as Houston Baptist University.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's
all right,
like the Tristan Gebbia of this team. Bring some experience, not a ton of playing time, but I like it, man. It's always good to add a little depth there.
absolutely. All right, we have to talk about these fans this week.
Oh,
Tennessee fans,
oh God.
you have to be the lowest class of the class to give young women 19, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old women the middle finger because you sweep them in the College World Series when Ohio State, everybody knows, unless you're Oregon or UCLA, you're not that good in softball. I mean, I know Nebraska's got a pretty good pitcher, but let's be real. Big Ten is not known for softball. The SEC is. Hell, there's a girl right down the street from me, headed to LSU from Lancaster High School, choosing to go to LSU to play softball instead of Ohio State. That tells you how important softball is at the SEC. You have the nerve to give these fine young women who led the nation in home runs the middle finger because you're still mad because the football team got their cheeks clapped by Ohio State in December.
Kneeling North.
Kneeling North. I'm telling you, man. Oregon, it's like Oregon and
Michigan, Tennessee,
and Miami fans. They're like in this little pack. They're like the little chihuahuas, like just barking and yapping.
They're like the Axis powers in World War II. If we're memorializing the 1942 team, these guys are bad. These are, I
Does
mean,
that make Sharon more Hitler?
no.
Does that make Michigan Hitler?
It may, yeah, I don't know. Um,
I just know the next episode we have, because we're off next week. We're both on vacation. Might be the episode we all been uh waiting for.
oh, oh, yeah. Well,
We're not gonna talk
I'm
about it
not
though.
counting my chickens early. I did post this, and a lot of people were kind of, it's got a lot of traction. I want to talk about some fan bases I respect, and this is in
Yeah,
no particular
absolutely.
order. So right now, like Tennessee, no chance. Michigan, no chance. Oregon, no chance. Miami, mostly no chance. Um, Washington, the one Washington fan annoyed me. Like I actually been made some friends with some Washington fans. Like they're not bad, but like the one guy's like, you guys aren't ready for this atmosphere and stuff. It's like, chill out, chill out.
By the way, real quick, Jim Hero was the offensive was an off Hethco. Jim Hethco was the offensive guard. He's from Lancaster, but did not play for Lancaster High School. He was a national champion. Lived in Lancaster. Did used to flash his 1942 ring. He died just recently. But that was the name that we were coming around. But sorry to cut you off, Dan.
All good. So this is a list of, and this list is going to change. These are the current fan bases. I think you and I both respect for the most part.
My best friend's part of one of his fan bases, by the way, one of my best friends. Yeah,
And there's a couple we're going to add, I think, but I think these are the fan bases, no particular order. Off the top of my head, I said Texas, um, just because I feel like they were pretty respectful during the playoff run. They're the only team that
yeah,
like never really chirped much. Um, everyone I've ever interacted with was pretty chill, and it's surprising because it's Texas. Penn State, obviously, like
yeah.
it's like your best friend,
One of my best friends. Yeah,
and like the rivalry, it's like a best friend rivalry. It's not like a hatred. It's just like it's fun. I think I like Penn State fans. Michigan State, they've grown on me a lot lately, and
because
the team itself annoyed me when they would beat us, but like the fans,
Connor Cook annoyed me.
but that's a player, not a fan.
Yeah,
Um, I would say I said Georgia because Georgia fans, for the most part, they tried to warn us about Tennessee fans. I'm not gonna lie. I had a couple Georgia fans like DM us, and he's like, "Hey, these are the fans you got to worry about. Like good fans, like they watch out for people. Um, some of them can be a little over the top, like the barking, but I don't hate them. I said Clemson because I feel like they used to talk a lot of smack, but like looking back on it, the smack wasn't bad. And like they also had a lot to back up and they made our rivalry with them fun. And they also do like that $2 bill thing where they hand out $2 bills. I just think it's a good fan base. And then last one I put was Nebraska, no brainer, like just all great fans. Were our brothers during the COVID battle, like just great fans, always sell out even when their team is not, good. And someone said Bama. I would say so too.
my cousins are annoying.
It depends. It depends. It really
Yeah,
depends. They're like,
I I'd honestly throw Oklahoma.
yeah,
Fans are
yeah, they're pretty chill.
pretty chill. Um,
Someone asked,
Illinois is public enemy on number one on me, like for me.
oh yeah, they'll never be on your.
Illinois basketball fans, Illinois basketball
Yeah,
fans.
yeah. They're not gonna make it.
But for football, Rutgers fans, because they know they suck. Been pretty cool. We don't get much interaction with them. Um,
Except the one time we went, those guys were chirping behind us.
but they were all in good fun.
They were. They,
They
I
were all in good fun.
Uh, LSU fans I like. I completely forgot about them. For the most part, they're pretty cool to talk to. I met a lot of good. The only time I was like a little like, what's going on was when I went to the Sugar Bowl, and then the LSU fans, some of them were rooting for Bama, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. But um,
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I Penn State. I'll go with you. Penn State, Oklahoma. Texas fans aren't bad. Well, yet. Um, um, yeah, Penn State, Oklahoma, Texas. I would say Georgia for the most part. They are annoying when they bark, though, but we're not going to like go out after them. Like, I mean, they kind of own us. You know, they beat us the last time. Bama fans, outside of my cousins, are pretty cool. But my cousins, they just do it because it's love and family fun. Um, Nebraska fans, Michigan State fans are all respectful. Um,
What are your
I don't
thoughts
know.
on Florida State fans?
I haven't really interacted with them.
I feel like I've interacted with like one or two guys. They could definitely make the list.
Um, I can't believe the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Cincinnati Reds 1-0. Gee, Merry Christmas. But I mean, all in all, like I will have to say the worst fans I have ever encountered, and this for all sports, are Chicago sports fans. Bears, Cubs, and then Michigan fans. Believe it or not, Notre Dame fans, it's like half and half with them.
Yeah,
Like some of them are annoying and good. Like they're not gonna make either list, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Like
Because I respect the good Notre Dame fans are great, like the best people you ever meet, and then the worst Notre Dame fans are like, I've lost brain cells. How is this person breathing? Like,
the one Notre Dame fans make us pull out the real man of genius,
Mhm.
that song. Like Virginia Tech fans when they were here, they weren't that bad.
Honestly, they're fun. They were a lot of fun. I
They
like
look like a fun. I tell you what, I want to go to a game in Blacksburg at night. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
So funny story about that. When they played, so I had a couple buddies. I actually looked at Virginia Tech. Like I thought really thought about going to Virginia Tech, and then I went to the campus, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It just wasn't for me. The stadium I saw the Lane Stadium, super cool stadium. You would love it, Cass. But a couple of my buddies from high school applied and got in and went there and stuff, and they were chirping me. I remember as a sophomore when they beat us, and it was so funny. I was dying though. They were like. I was getting calls in the middle of the game. Like they were because they knew like it was just such a big upset that year. They rocked the Virginia Tech
Yeah.
thing, dude. And
I will say Wisconsin fans were a lot of fun. When I went
yeah,
up to Camp Randall, they were a lot of fun. They were talking a lot, but at the end of the day, they knew Ohio State was going to win. And they were a lot of fun. Even at the Big Ten championship game that I went to, Wisconsin, I would say Wisconsin fans are probably top five of fun to be around.
are there any group of five? Uh,
Cincinnati, terrible fans
then yeah, no. Ugh.
because they think, I mean,
They think that like OU fans, I think are like OU fans are cool.
yeah,
Um, they cheer for Ohio State half the time.
group of five fans.
Someone asked for Western Kentucky. He's like, "Can you put Western Kentucky?" And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because of the mascot, Big
I
Red."
don't know one Western Kentucky fan.
Just the one guy asking to be on the list. I'm sure.
I
I
did find, okay, I did find this Akron Zip fan rather annoying. At the Akron, the one night game that Kyle McCord started over CJ
oh
Stroud because he
yeah.
had a shoulder injury. There was just this guy decked out in the kangaroo stuff, and like he was just yelling and screaming zips, and it's like, dude, you're really annoying. But that's about.
Oh, I know a school.
I feel like Boise State fans would be terrible.
Yeah, I don't know much. App State fans are pretty cool, and I've met a couple of them. I met one in Gatlinburg with his and like his wife, and he went there, and he was super cool. We were just talking about the Michigan game, and I was just like, "That was something, man." He's like, "You telling me I was on campus at the time?" And I was like, "No way."
Do you remember when Justin Fields put first game against Florida Atlantic? The
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin era Florida Atlantic fans, there was a bunch of group of drunk girls that came to the game I went up. My wife and her aunt went to the game. I was out tailgating. There was a bunch of group of Florida Atlantic drunk girls that were just talking so much crap. So there, I would say group of 5 fans, Florida Atlantic. I would say Florida Atlantic Lane Kiffin era fans
We're
were
bad.
terrible. We're
Okay.
bad.
I like that. I
So
like
I
that.
feel like if Ole Miss was like ever played Ohio State, I feel like their fans would be terrible too. Because my buddy Aaron, who's a big Penn State fan, said that Ole Miss fans were terrible. He said Auburn fans were really cool when he went down to Auburn Penn State game a couple years ago.
Yeah, I feel like the frat boy Ole Miss fans are bad. I feel like the older Ole Miss fans, like people who graduated and like have been working.
The ones that bring in off the street 6'5", 320-pound line offensive linemen into their homes.
They're nice. They're good people.
And they're like a CEO for like franchise Taco Bell franchisees.
The fans where it's like my dad's a lawyer, he'll sue you, like, and they're like 24-year-old frat boys. Those are the bad fans.
The ones that wear khaki shorts that are up to mid thigh, wearing Ole Miss polos and their hair combed to the side.
Yeah, they have like the SEC burners, and like it'll be a belt. The belt will be like all the SEC teams. They'll take a picture of that, a polo, and then
Ole Miss,
they'll have
Ole Miss,
a
Ole
row
Miss,
back quarter zip.
Ole Miss clinches the Relic West Bowl, but they cheer for Alabama in the playoffs.
Oh man, that's so funny. A&M fans, I feel like, are crazy too. I don't
Oh,
know.
I know an A&M fan at work. He is excited. He's buying tickets to the Ohio State Texas game, and he hopes Ohio State kicks the dog snot out of Texas. Obviously, Texas A&M, Texas rivals. I
Yeah,
feel like Utah fans would be fun.
I agree. I agree. But man, that's all I got, brother. We
Yeah.
got a minute here. No episode next week. We're both going to be on vacation. Everyone enjoy your Memorial Day. Think of the 1942 Ohio State team. Cast anything else you got left while we got a minute
Yep.
here.
Nope. I'm going to go to the college. Got tickets to the College Football Hall of Fame next Saturday. I will attempt to kick, even though it'll probably be bad. But I am wearing this hat and my Jack Sawyer jersey while I'll go through the College Football Hall of Fame because I'm going to bask in this national championship.
It'll hit different, dude. I went to the College Football Hall of Fame right before we won in 2014. When it was like 2 days before we played Alabama. You're going after we won. It's gonna be just as great. But everyone have a very safe, and happy, healthy Memorial Day weekend. Don't do anything stupid. Don't drink any.
Enjoy some burgers and hot dogs.
Absolutely, and go Bucks, and just bask in the natty, baby. Go Bucks.